Good afternoon. It's Monday, the 1st of June. I'm Erin Viner, and this is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. Visiting German Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier today called the situation facing Gaza's 1.8 million residents catastrophic. The German diplomat said during his visit to the Gaza Strip that the world can't wait until talks about a two-state solution are back on track to improve living conditions. He also visited a United Nations school for girls built with support from Berlin and the Gaza seaport. The German foreign minister held talks with Palestinian Deputy Prime Minister Ziad Abu Amr, although his mission did not include meetings with the Hamas leadership. Despite international pledges of more than $5 billion, little has been achieved in reconstructing the enclave. During his talks with PA officials in Ramallah yesterday evening, Steinmeier called for the renewal of Middle East peace talks and declared his nation's support of an independent, democratic Palestinian state, while adding that everyone knows that the way there will be rocky and winding. He went on to say that what's most critically needed are real chances for the people of Gaza through swift rebuilding and the opening of borders, but that it must include an end to the rocket attacks on Israel coming out of the Gaza Strip. And then, referring to the peace process, Steinmeier expressed his hope that there will be progress in matters that have failed in the recent past. Palestinian Prime Minister Rami Hamdallah has announced that Washington intends to resume efforts to relaunch negotiations between Jerusalem and Ramallah after a final nuclear deal is reached with Tehran. The statement appears in today's Washington Post as part of an interview with the Palestinian leader, who also said that the U.S. has been coordinating with the French government, whose own initiative calls for a timeline to resolve the conflict. According to Hamdallah, the Palestinian leadership is hoping for a new framework for the talks that would also include a deadline for the establishment of their own state and the withdrawal of the IDF troops from the West Bank. The Prime Minister clarified that even though the PA has previously insisted that these developments take place by 2017, he said negotiations can be resumed after approval of a UN resolution echoing that demand, and that this should not be considered as a precondition for the holding of peace talks. Turning to Syria, where, as the rule of President Bashar al-Assad appears to be rapidly disintegrating, the Druze communities in the south of the Arab Republic are beginning to panic out of fear that if rebel forces were to take over their areas, they would be severely punished for their unwavering support of the government regime. The Israeli Druze communities are also watching the situation closely. We get more in this report by IBA's Dennis Zinn.
And yet another black flag of the al-Qaeda-affiliated Jabhat al-Nusra organization is hoisted in the Syrian province of Idlib in northern Syria. The bodies of regime soldiers alongside Hezbollah militants are scattered in the streets. This rebel fighter said they were killed while fleeing like mice. Syrian President Bashar Assad has clearly lost grip on most of the country. The rebels say the next goal is the Alawite enclave of Latakia. The Mediterranean town is the last real stronghold of the Syrian president. It is his birthplace and the base of his Alawite clan. Today, life in Latakia is going on as normal, as if there were no problems in the rest of the country, but they are likely in for a shock. The rebel forces are gaining strength. They are bolstered continuously by enthusiastic young recruits, and their hardware is improving both from weapons taken from the Syrian army and from donations by supportive countries. According to reports from Latakia, Russia is well aware of the danger and is currently evacuating members of its diplomatic community stationed in the city. And in the south, the Druze communities on the Syrian side of the Golan Heights are also aware of the danger they face due to their overt support for the Assad regime. They know that once the north of Syria falls, the rebel forces will move south. The Druze have created their own militia to try and protect themselves. And in recent days, leaders of the Israeli Druze community held high-level meetings with top members of the Israeli security establishment to express their fears about their brethren in Syria. Some said they will not stand idle if Syrian Druze are being massacred on the other side of the border. No promises were reportedly given, but the IDF is preparing for a possible scenario of mass flight of Syrian Druze across the border, attempting to find safety in Israel. Meanwhile, the Assad forces continue barrel-bombing Syrian population centers in their attempt to stop the rebel advance. Dennis Zinn, IBA News.
The recent differences between U.S. President Barack Obama and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will not impact the world powers talks with Iran on its nuclear program. That's the view of CIA Director John Brennan, who also told CBS Television's Face the Nation that intelligence cooperation between the two countries has not been harmed.
Does the political breach we have with Israel, has that degraded or in any way made hurt our intelligence gathering capabilities?
Absolutely not. There is a very, very strong relationship between the United States and Israel on the intelligence, security, military fronts. It's one of the great things I think about our system. There can be policy differences between our governments, but the intelligence and security professionals know that we have an obligation to keep our country safe and secure. And so, although there's been great debate about the Iranian nuclear negotiations that are ongoing, CIA, NSA, and other intelligence community entities are working very closely with their Israeli as well as other counterparts.
There have been no immediate reports of injury or damage from a 4.4 magnitude earthquake that struck Iran this morning, about 110 kilometers from the Islamic Republic's only operational nuclear power plant in Bushehr. The epicenter of the earthquake was at Bandar Ganaveh in the Bushehr province along the southwestern coast around 4:30 a.m. local time. The atomic plant first went online in 2011 with Russian help and is reportedly able to withstand earthquakes up to an 8 magnitude. Far-right French leader Marine Le Pen visited Egypt, where she said that the Arab Republic serves as an important barrier in helping to prevent limitless immigration to Europe. In Cairo, Le Pen held meetings with the Grand Imam Ahmed Al-Tayeb and Pope Tawadros of the Coptic Church, as well as Prime Minister Ibrahim Mehleb. The National Front chief lauded Egyptian leadership for its war against radicalism and praised President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi as a leader with a clear message to confront Islamist extremism. She also compared Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood to the Islamic State, while warning that there is a great danger that ISIS could deploy fighters to mix in with the thousands of illegal migrants that she accused of wreaking havoc after infiltrating European shores. According to Le Pen, Egypt's Christian minority is not seeking refuge in France or in the U.S. and prefers to remain in Egypt, which she said is how it should be. The second of the 5-day IDF Home Front command exercise was carried out nationwide today, designed to check the country's preparedness to deal with possible war on 3 fronts. The annual drill has this year been codenamed Turning Point 15 and involves a simulation in which several population centers simultaneously come under massive barrages of rocket fire. Today's drill concentrated on the evacuation and rehousing of civilians caught on the front lines. According to defense assessments, a future conflict with Hezbollah could include a scenario in which the IDF might have to evacuate residents from the north if the Lebanon-based terror group would attempt to infiltrate Israeli communities. And don't forget that there will be 2 sirens tomorrow at 5 minutes after 11 a.m. and again at 7:05 in the evening, when the public is expected to go to the nearest protected shelter, just as if there was a genuine attack. Communities in the south of the country are excluded from the exercise because of their experience living through years of missile attacks from Gaza. In other news, the Ashdod Port Authority is reporting that workers have been observing a work slowdown. Crates are being unloaded, but at a pace about half the speed of a normal day. On Friday, the labor court barred a strike action and ordered workers to operate at routine levels. The port management complained to the Histadrut Labor Federation that personnel are in violation of the judge's order and are warning that, if necessary, they will return to the court to demand that the workers be held in contempt. Police today forcefully evicted scores of Jewish worshippers who barricaded themselves inside King David's tomb on Mount Zion in Jerusalem in an apparent attempt to prevent Christians from conducting a prayer service at the site. The location has been a flashpoint for religious tensions between the two communities, where Christians believe that Jesus' Last Supper took place in a room above the tomb. Ahead of Pope Francis' visit to Israel last year, police arrested 26 demonstrators on charges of disturbing the peace at the complex. This is the only country in the Middle East with a free press, and even though that freedom is on the rise in Israel, it's not without problems. That's the word from a senior official at the U.S.-based pro-democracy NGO Freedom House, who also told Israel Television's Yaakov Achimeir that such liberties are not in good shape world over.
The trends are not good. They're dreadful, they're awful, they're frightening. You can choose your adjective.
In democracies?
In democracies, yes, because the worldwide trend, this includes the United States, includes members of the EU, to some extent it includes Israel, the trend lines are all going in the wrong direction. Less press freedom than there was 10 years ago. And our finding was this is actually 2014 was the worst year in more than 10 years when you average things all together. We also know that there are more physical threats against journalists. There are more places where journalists literally can't go. Parts of Syria, parts of Iraq, parts of Latin America. Sometimes the cost of going there is the journalist's own life.
Where do you put Israel in the list of the countries?
There are 199 countries altogether. I think Israel is at about 60. It's right on the dividing line, literally, between free and partly free. In the Freedom House reports on the years 2012 and 2008, Israel was partly free. For 2014, it's free.
What can you tell us about the good things on the Israeli media?
You have private media ownership. There's a lot of reporting on government wrongdoing and on people pursue stories about corruption. There's strong libel laws, strong protections for journalists with libel laws. The Supreme Court has recently upheld journalists' rights in libel cases. There's strong labor protections for journalists, and there's this very free exchange of ideas.
I assume that Israel is unique in the Middle East, in the region.
It is. We count 19 countries and territories from Morocco east through Iran. Israel is the only country this year that's rated free.
You mentioned, Mr. Ruby, the good things about the Israeli media. What are the bad things about it?
One of them has been the work of the censor. During the fighting in Gaza last year, the censor became involved in a couple of particular issues.
You mean the military censor?
The military censor, that's right. Courts have also gotten involved with gag orders, which themselves are it's not easily determined what the gag orders are about. The newspaper market has changed a lot in recent years because of Israel Hayom. It doesn't really matter to Freedom House what its content is. The fact that its business model includes free distribution has forced other newspapers to lower their advertising rates, which is not good for maintaining a diversity of views, a diversity of voices.
But is it not a legitimate medium, Israel Hayom newspaper?
Oh, totally legitimate. It's had some bad effects on the newspaper market overall.
Israeli pride was on parade in Manhattan yesterday as tens of thousands of supporters participated in the 51st annual Celebrate Israel event. American and Israeli politicians joined an estimated crowd of 30,000 people who marched up New York's Fifth Avenue in a show of solidarity with the Jewish state at the all-day occasion marking Israel's 67th birthday. 35 organizations, including the Israeli government, Nefesh B'Nefesh, and the United Jewish Appeal Federation of New York, sponsored this year's parade under the banner of Israel Imagines Peace. Participants and spectators eagerly demonstrated their love and support for the country, while political leaders here at home sent video messages of thanks.
It's just beautiful to see Jews walking around supporting Judaism, supporting Jews, supporting Israel. We're just happy to be here.
It's been a challenging time, the last year and a half or so, and we are very Zionistic. We firmly believe in it, and this just shows the kids what we really believe.
You guys are here with military look, military style. Yes. We stand with Israel Defense Forces, the one true democratic force that helps defend the state of Israel and also American interests within the Middle East.
The message is unity, the message is peace, the message is togetherness, the message is common tranquility in the world and among our people.
What would be the message, in the wake of all the tensions between the governments and the leaderships, America, Israel?
We have a lot in common. We got to work on our commonality.
It's very inspiring, and it's a reminder. We know intellectually that there's American Jewry and it supports Israel, but sometimes we forget about it, and sometimes it's hard to tap into it. So it's very important for leaders in Israel to come and to feel it. And everybody flies back tonight, and they fly back with a tremendous inspiration, but also motivation to work really hard.
Very proud. It's an amazing day. Neither the weather or anything can hold us back. And we're happy to be part of it. We're very proud to be part of it. Am Yisrael Chai v'Kayam, no question. Thank you.
You've gathered to express your solidarity with the one and only Jewish state. And in so doing, you're sending a powerful message of support for the essential justice of Israel's cause. In this turbulent region of the Middle East, where countries are imploding, militant Islam runs rampant, terrorists butcher the innocent, and human rights are routinely trampled upon, Israel stands out as a beacon of freedom and human rights, as a model of tolerance and diversity, and as the one country in which the equal rights of all citizens are fiercely protected under the law. So as you salute Israel today in the streets of Manhattan, know that you're standing up for what is right and what is just.
We're always being told about the threats around us, Iran and terror and Hezbollah and Hamas, and it's all true. But I just want to tell you one thing. The Jewish people have been here for 3,800 years. We've seen everything. We've seen Pharaoh. We've seen the Babylons and they've gone. We've seen the Romans and they disappeared. All our big enemies in history have disappeared, and only Am Yisrael continues on and on. So I tell our enemies, you can continue talking. We're going to be here forever and ever because Am Yisrael Chai.
I want to congratulate those who are carrying forward the torch, those who are organizing this great cause, this great event, and wish them all great success. May we bring forward great support for Israel, understanding of its just causes, understanding of the great story of the nation and state of Israel.
Staying in the Big Apple, where 4 young Israeli Arab and Jewish musicians are performing a few concerts together while creating bonds through classical melodies. Reporter Alexander Jen tells us more.
You hear no conflict or fighting, no battles or bombs, just melodies and Mozart from this quartet comprised of 4 Israelis, 2 Arabs, and 2 Jews. These youngsters represent the Polyphony Foundation, established to transcend the conflict through classical music. This prestigious Israeli quartet traveled to New York City to perform their music at the All Souls Church, the world-renowned Lincoln Center, and a few private venues.
We're doing a change. Yeah. In the past, we always heard that, yes, Arabs and Jews can live together. Now we're proving it. And it's a big change for Arabs and for Jews.
A change that the Polyphony Foundation co-founder has worked tirelessly to foster since the organization was established in 2011. They operate out of Israel, offering music appreciation classes for thousands of elementary school children, educational curriculum for music students, and performance opportunities around the country and in New York City for young artists.
Well, this is the beauty of music. The differences are there. You're a different person if you're born in Tel Aviv than a person if you're born in Nazareth, obviously. But because they are both equally trained as professional musicians, once they meet, they have already this common thing that they have together. This common ground is a door that they can open together towards communication, towards learning about the other, and finding a way to live together.
Hailing from Nazareth, Abu Ashkar recognized the divide between Jews and Arabs in his hometown. Only one street separates Arab Nazareth from Jewish Upper Nazareth, with almost no interaction between the two sides. With the help of his co-founders, Deborah and Craig Kogut, Abu Ashkar decided to create the Polyphony Foundation to develop an understanding between the two cultures. He believes that the power of music can overcome the layers of religion and politics, providing young Arabs and Jews with a shared commonality. And so far, it appears that he is right.
We're the same. Like when I do a mistake and everybody laughs at it, we feel that we all, okay, we think the same, we feel the same, we have the same sense of humor.
You can feel a sense of pride and responsibility in these musicians' work with the Polyphony Quartet. By breaking cultural barriers, these artists are setting the precedent for a unified movement towards coexistence. And it all began with a musical note. Alexandra Jen for IBA News.
It was a good day in local finance, where the shekel increased in strength against all major foreign currencies, and share prices on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange were up across the board. Here's a look at the afternoon numbers.